this is part 2. I had to cut that off because it was getting too long. Back onto Brent Spiner. This is why I'm convinced that I've got the real Brent Spiner and that he's been in love with me. I could tell when I saw those Germany photos of Brent in 1996, when she tried to seduce Franco Nero, which I really believe is what she did. And Franco said no. And then she got really huffy about it, and Franco apparently called Brent up and said, your girlfriend just tried to seduce me. And then in the Germany photos, Brent was looking at her. I remember he had a mustache, and he was going on a tour to promote some Star Trek movie. I think it was First Contact. And Laurie McBride was by his side, and he was looking at her like, I'm not an actress, you know, even though I'm thinking about possibly doing this. He was looking at her like, I don't know, I can't get into character, Brent, to try, but he had this look on his face like this woman that was next to him was the most wicked, vile, disgusting woman, and that he couldn't stand her. And he looked like he was depressed, that he couldn't stand having her as a girlfriend. And it was obvious that she tried to seduce Franco Nero. At that time, I was really confused about Brent. And I would tell Franco on the phone, because my phone was wiretapped at this time, I said, Franco, I don't understand why Brent keeps this woman as his girlfriend when she obviously tried to seduce you and you turned her down. And I figured it out. I mean, the Jesuits have removed all of these photos because they're trying to make it look like Brent couldn't resist this voluptuously attractive Laurie McBride. But when I saw those Germany photos of Brent and the way he looked at her, I could tell he couldn't stand her. He had zero respect for her. He looked at her like she was the most ugly, vile, vicious viper on the planet. It was like, it's hard for me to get into character, but the look I saw on his face, it was like a sad look. It was like, he wanted his life to end because he had this woman in his life. And he looked at her like that. And I said, Brent, and I was talking to him on the phone, why are you keeping this girl as your girlfriend? I don't understand you. You must be a coward. So I told him he was a coward. I figured it out. And this is how I know that I've been dealing with the real Brent Spiner. Because I could see the connection between actions I made in my life, where I replaced him with Franco Nero in 1996. Then I'd go online and look at his photos, and I could see how Laurie McBride was responding to this. And I could see that I wasn't imagining things, that there was a communication between me and Brent and Laurie and Franco, because I could see the response when I'd go online and look at their pictures. Apparently, Laurie McBride tried to seduce Franco Nero in London, because I was keeping up with Brent Spiner online, and he was going to London first for a Star Trek First Contact promotion. Then they went to Germany, and I knew from my research on Franco Nero that he had a home in London. So apparently, Laurie McBride tried to seduce Franco Nero in London, and then Franco told Brent about it. And in the Germany photos that I saw in December 1996 between Brent Spiner and Laurie McBride, he was looking at her like he couldn't stand her, man. He had this look at her like, oh, like, I really don't want to be near you. You are disgusting. The Jesuits have removed all of those photos. But that was what really confused me about Brent. I told Franco, why is he keeping her as his girlfriend? This is how I know I've had the real Brent Spiner, folks. Because I'm seeing a connection between my communications with him and stuff that I'm seeing online, that I've seen online. The Jesuits have removed all those photos. They're gone. But I remember them. And Brent Spiner remembers them. In December 99, I figured it all out. When my life started getting really bad, and Laurie McBride and the Jesuits tried to burn down my mobile home. I found out later through Brent Spiner and Terrence Jenkins, they used some sort of teleportation technology to set those fires around my mobile home. Because it was puzzling to me, because I know my son didn't do them. And They use some sort of teleportation technology. The Jesuits have very advanced technology. But in December 99, I heard a still small voice in my mind that said, your enemy is the Roman Catholic Church. And then everything made sense. I began to realize why it was that it seemed like the whole world was jumping on me just because I was in love with, I had celebrities in my life. Obviously, the Jesuits would find that a major threat that I had celebrities in my life because I knew too much about them. So, and then, of course, right after that, and then I got on the phone and I cried for 3 hours. I said, oh, Brent, I'm so sorry. Your girlfriend's a Vatican agent. I figured it out. I'm so sorry. I said so many mean things about you. I said that you were a coward. And I said, I'm going to marry you, Brent. And I knew he was listening to me. And I believe from that point on, he really did try to marry me. But the Jesuits, oh man, after that, it was like all hell broke loose in my life. Everything started going wrong. It was horrible. Oh, it was just horrible. And then I remember the Lord told me then, he said, Gail, if you don't get out of your marriage with your husband, you're going to be dead within a couple of years. So that's why I got out. Anyways, that's why, that's why I knew I'd been talking to the real Brent Spiner. Because I'm seeing a connection between my communications with him, whether it's been through a wiretap phone or through email or through brain-to-brain communications and what I've observed in my life and what I've observed going online. And I'm also a highly intelligent woman, and I've been able to figure some things out. For instance, with Vladimir Putin, when I noticed him in September 2001, right after the 9/11 attacks, I could tell that he was interested in me because I knew that because I was trying to marry Brent Spiner, I believed that we had bugs in my room at my house. So I was able to talk to these men. I know this seems crazy, but Brent Spiner was trying to marry me, and he was communicating like with the president and everything. And so they were working to try to get me safely, which has become a big issue. And I do believe they had bugs in my room. And I used to talk to the bugs. So they say, how'd they get him in your room? I'm not sure. But I did believe that. Brent was trying so much to marry me. It all started in 91 when he talked to me on the phone. And then when I moved from Washington to Seattle, he started using more advanced methods to allow us to communicate. That would be less obvious. And so it started off with direct phone conversations, and then we started letter writing, where I did most of the writing and he was reading it, and then he would call me up on the phone and talk to me every now and then. But then that got cut off by the Jesuits in 94, and that was right before he made a personal appearance to outside my apartment. And then after the divorce and I moved to Florida, I do believe he put bugs in every place that I moved. He was working with the president then. And that's how Vladimir Putin found out about me, because I would talk to the bugs. And then we didn't need the bugs anymore because Vladimir Putin introduced me to brain-to-brain communication in 2003. And then from 2003 till about 2011, that was my primary means of communicating with Brent Spiner and my men. It was Vladimir Putin from about 2003 to 2006 solely, except for Matthew McConaughey briefly in 2005 when Vladimir Putin had a near-fatal heart attack. And then I had Matthew McConaughey as a brain-to-brain communicator about November 2005, and then it was back to Vladimir. And then in 2006, I decided to reinstate Brent Spiner into my life, and I've had Brent Spiner as a brain-to-brain communicator since about February 2006 to now. And then when I went online and started my YouTube channel, Brent Spiner was able to contact me through my YouTube channel, through a YouTube channel that he established. And then that started my online communication with Brent Spiner in summer about a year ago. And now the Jesuits, it appears, may have cut that off. I don't know. I really miss you, Brent. Anyways, I've made these videos. I believe you've just spoken to me brain to brain and you want these videos, and I'm going to send them to you. But You know, in my online communications between myself and Brent Spiner and Vladimir Putin, it's matched everything that I've heard brain to brain, which makes me convinced that that we really have had valid brain to brain communications for the past several years. And so you may say, what about clones? Well, when I was at work, one of the reasons I believe in clones is not just because Brent Spiner or Vladimir Putin's told me brain to brain about clones, or because of what they've told me online, but because of my own real life experiences at work and with my own family. I just noticed some very bizarre behavior in some of my coworkers and in my mother and my family, where it's like they've got a Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde personality. And I wasn't sure what was going on. I didn't know if the Jesuits were using some sort of brain control technology on them or what. Like, there would be days when my mother would seem like she was my ally and my friend, and then it was like the next day she was a different person. Like, and, you know, it's like, what's wrong with her? Does she have a split personality? And then finally, Vladimir Putin informed me, I think it was a couple years ago, that there were clones out there. He told me that brain to brain. And I thought, you know what, that makes sense. That explains some of the strange behavior I'm seeing in some of my coworkers. Like, one day, they seem to be my allies, and the next day, out of the blue, it's like they changed. And they're a totally different personality. It's like, wow, this is so weird. This is why I believe in clones. It isn't just because I've been told this, just my real life experience observing what's around me. Anyways, folks, I'm not crazy. I'm just observing what's around me and coming to conclusions, and being a highly intelligent woman, I think I've come to some correct conclusions.